Greetings YouTube and welcome to my latest weapons build. So this is going to be a build where I'm going to be using scraps. Now this is a piece of salvage. It is a frame. It is steel. It's rectangular, so it's narrower than it is wide. And this was part of a desk apparently. It was part of a pressboard desk. This was the set of legs that were on the outside of the desk. There was another set in the middle and there was a set of drawers to the side of that. And it was in very bad shape. The only part I took was this, because it's steel and it's rectangular stock tubing, which is, I don't think I've ever seen it for sale. And square stock tubing is ridiculously expensive right now, and I like the look. So this is it's wrapped. These are folds here, and what's welded in one spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut it like this, so that this is I'm just going to preserve that angle because it's not particularly important to me on this end, because this is going to be the butt of it. And then up here I'm going to preserve this angle here the same. I can make this angle the same as this piece of steel here, because this is going to be the striking head. And when I get that angle the same, just for aesthetics, I'm going to set it up so that it's sitting just proud of this. So you'll have a point up here as well as the point here, and then I'll hold it in place in two spots. I don't know, probably like that. And that is a piece of scrap from another project I did. This is part of a shovel. It's ever so slightly curved. It's very difficult to see. It's very shallow. So I'm not going to do anything about that. Not to mention, I don't think I can get that curve out of there because it's hardened. So that means I'm going to have a hard time, literally a hard time, drilling this. I have a special carbide bit for hardened steel. I'll be using that for this particular piece. These I don't need that for. This is just, you know, it's mild steel. I'm not going to have any problem drilling this thing. So I'll drill this with a standard bit and this with a hardened bit, carbide bit, and then I'm going to sharpen those two edges at least down to the point where it goes inside the about here, so that your hand doesn't slide up and hit that. And then I'll sharpen this as well. This is actually the cutting edge here. This is the back of it, which was actually the front where it would have been the shovel bit, but that's going to be the back here, and this should take a nice edge, because again it's hardened steel. You can see it's very slight flex there, because that is the curve that the shovel had. I'm going to put a through hole here, which is 1/4 inch bolt and 2 cap nuts, and that's going to be the stop, so your hand will not slide down here to hit this. And two holes here going through there to hold it together, and I haven't decided whether I'm using cap nuts or I'm going to make points. We'll find that and see if when I get to that section, if what I particularly have a desire for today when it comes to the aesthetics. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is clamp this thing down and start making the cuts. I will I'll transfer this angle to there, and I'll just cut this off like it is. Boom. There's no reason to make two cuts, and then I'll just cut this off there, and then we'll get to the layout for drilling, because there's going to have to be 1, 2, 3 holes here, and then once I've got those configured, I will have to put a slot on one side for this to slide into. I'll have to figure out how far that's going to go down, and that's going to be another hole, but only on one side of that. That's going to be the relief hole, so I'm cutting to that relief hole, and then 2 holes in this, and then it's going to, once all that is done, then it comes to the sharpening portion, which is the longest, most tedious thing, is to get an edge on this stuff. The rest of this should be pretty straightforward. So time for some cutting. So all the holes are done. That is a through hole. That goes through halfway. And these are 2 through holes here. And now I have the slot drawn up. So I'm going to now cut that. And what the heck? I'll set the camera up and we'll see how that goes. So you guys can actually see me do that and see if I can get it straight. It's not always guaranteed. So here we go. Getting my glove on, throwing on my headphones. And I got my handguard on, which is actually working really quite well at keeping myself from getting burned. I'm still healing from the last time I burned it, which kind of sucked. I have to nibble that out a little bit more, and I am slightly on that side, so I'm going to nibble it out on the left side. And I did get a little bit over blow through on that one, but that's okay. That's just the way it is. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. And the angle matches nicely, which is groovy. So that is very cool. So now I am going to clamp this in here, clamp it to the table, so that I can then make a transfer mark through those holes onto this. And once I do that, then it's going to be setting up my carbide bit and drilling through that. And that's not exciting. It's a very, very slow, painful process. Hardened steel is great stuff, holds a great edge. It's a bear to drill through. So that's how I do the slots. And sometimes they come out really easily, like this one, and sometimes they do put up a fight. All the components are now set. I have the blade sharpened. I have it drilled. I have this drilled. However, I forgot to not sharpen it all the way to the edge here because I just kind of got into the zone. So I have put another hole here. So I'm going to put a stop here as well as here so that my hand cannot slide up onto the edge because it is dangerous now. You know, sometimes I forget these things. This was very easy to do. I didn't even have to do much more than this and just hone it because the edge was almost exactly where I wanted it. Whoever did own this before did maintain the edge on their shovel quite well, which is, you know, laudable. So now I need to cut up a bunch of threaded rod. I got this little piece right here. That's going to be one of the pieces. Then I got some more here I have to cut up. The problem is I've got a big space in there. So if I put this inside, let's see if I can do this one-handed. If I put this in here, like this, there's a lot of space for this to slop around in. So I'm going to try something I've never tried before. I have some quarter-inch washers here. So I am going to put them on here and then tape them in place with masking, with blue painter's tape. And then push them in and then put a bolt through it. I will poke a hole through the tape, obviously. It'll be in my way. But I'm thinking that when I pinch, that will let these provide me the support so that this thing is properly centered. So it's going to make it a nice solid connection. I've never tried this before. We're going to give it a shot. It's not perfect. These are going to be about 30 thousandths shy total width from what I need, but also the planer tape is going to be involved, as well as this is going to move in when I tighten it because this has a degree of flex now. So first I got to make all my fasteners. Once the fasteners are done, then I'm going to try taping these in place and then sliding the whole thing in. We'll see if it works. If it works, this could be a very useful solution to me for the future. And if it doesn't work, well, I will come up with some other option. And here we have the final weapon. This is an axe. I don't know. Should I call it a triangle axe? A pyramid axe? Yeah, pyramid axe. I'm going to go pyramid axe just for fun. So these stops work beautifully. They keep my hand from going up. They keep my hand from going off. It's quite comfortable. I'm going to leave that unwrapped because I like to be able to slide it back and forth in my hand. I did decide to go with points. Now the method I used here with the washers and the painter's tape did in fact work. it was a bit of a bear to get everything in there, and then I was fortunate enough that I remembered I have this, which let me push it through and then for both sides, and then I'll make sure that they were properly aligned before I tried putting the bolts themselves through. And this one went in very nicely. That was not a problem. This one, though, I actually had to double up the nuts on one side and essentially screw this into the handle to get it to finally seat. And when it was finally seated, I could then tighten it up. So that is rock solid. That is not going to move at all. It works on this rectangular tubing. I don't think it would work on square stock tubing because that's going to be a smaller amount of space to work with. I think. I'm not positive. Maybe maybe 1 inch. I don't think I could get away with that with 3/4. But maybe 1 inch tubing, because this is slightly less than 1 inch wide. So maybe I can get away with it on 1 inch, but I'm not going to get away with it on 3/4 inch, which is sometimes something I use as well. But yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. Now, aesthetically, part of me is like, you should put a hole here. That would be very difficult to do. Just for for visual interest, that would be difficult to do. This stuff is hard. I did have to use a carbide drill bit to go through it, and it was not fast. Didn't hurt the drill bit and didn't hurt this. Didn't hurt my drill press, but it wasn't fast. And using my hole cutters, even though they themselves are carbide, would still not be a lot of fun to go through this. Not in the least. So I think I'm going to keep it like this. It kind of reminds me of like road flags or something. You know what I mean? Like something you see stuck alongside the road, like "Don't drill here" or "Warning, do not go off the shoulder." But I like this. It's light. It's light and it's fast, and that's a thin edge, so that's going to go in deep. Obviously, this is really meant for things unarmored opponents, anything with any kind of metal armor. This is not going to work all that well. At least not for long. It might be able to punch a hole through it, but you're going to ruin that edge in no time at all. But, if you get to walk away, you can always repair it later, right? And I like the fact that I was able to get these angles the same. I don't even know what those angles are. I just copied it. I just happened to be, I got very lucky that when I cut this piece, it ended up being essentially a piece that had two nice even sides, and it was fairly centered. Happened to be, nice center line going down in the middle of that. It was just happenstance. I did not intend to that when I cut it. I just needed to get it out of my way. And I knew that someday I may reuse this, and well, here we are. So this is the pyramid axe, and I really quite like it. So now I need to take some stills for this video as well as my DeviantArt page. If you don't follow me on DeviantArt, you should. That's where I keep the permanent repository of my stills of my builds, as well as you should also follow me on Instagram, which is where I post bargains and salvage stuff I find, and sometimes sneak previews of builds, and of course cute cat pictures, because who doesn't love a cute cat picture? So folks, thanks for being here today. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you come back for the next one.